the North American indigenous people, they were victims of genocide. Like literally, the people who lived in North America now are not the same people who lived in North America just 1,000 years ago. In less than 1,000 years, a total group of people have been almost destroyed by European colonialism, by white supremacy ideology. No longer, we actually in the North, they live on what they call nations, which is just a step above a concentration camp by the way that people are treated and their outcomes. Australia, the indigenous people there aren't even given a proper name. They're called Aborigines. And again, their populations were decimated by white supremacy and this thing called colonialism. So when we look at ourselves as African, people resist some of the most wicked treatment in the world. The fact that so many of us still know our names, cultural continuity, that's not what has happened to many people in the world. When they met the colonizer, they ended up losing everything. If you go to South America today, the language they speak over there in many of these countries is Spanish or Portuguese. Well, Spain is in Spain, it's not in South America. Portuguese is in Portugal. Those people don't even know their local languages anymore. All they speak, just like in North America, like all we speak is English in North America, all they speak in these countries in South America are European languages. So if you look at Africa, as wicked as colonialism was, our people have been able to resist enough to at least maintain their cultural continuity as best as possible. There's been some corruption of our cultures, but we've been able to maintain our language, which is a very powerful thing. I have been to many African countries where folks adopted and started using their names. I've met more, Jazz and Billies in Africa. It's one of the most amazing things. When I go to China, they got Chinese names. When I go to France, they got French names. When I go to Germany, they got German names. But when I went to Africa, I was like, Lee, why everybody got like European names? But one thing that we've been able to keep culturally is our surnames, in most cases, as well as our language. And that's not what's been able to be accomplished by other groups of people that were colonized. So as African people, we've been able to resist this very wicked, oppressive onslaught for 500 years, probably better than any other people that have ever had to be subjected to it. And that, ability to survive and resist and fight back, we have an obligation to our ancestors to do more than just make peace with oppression. We have to resist and continue the resistance until we create a world that existed prior to all these wicked things happening. So in a real way, we think using technology will give us that ability to do so. So I'm kind of giving you like a big overarching background of how we got to why we think the way we do it. I love Black people. Let's just some like the real like resource. So our movement started off, again, I've been doing it by creating I Love Black People was a way that we literally could actually bring together Black people, no matter where they lived, to create a community that values Black people, Blackness, and make sure that we're protected from this Black tax, this xenophobia, and this racism, so that we could create a safe place for us to all interact. So that doesn't mean you're no longer from Uganda, you're no longer from Zimbabwe or South Africa or Liberia. But what we're saying is we're part of a greater community that, because of our understanding of the world, we can now have a higher quality of life because we're now creating a safe space for us to be in. And that safe space that we came up with, as I mentioned before the call started, is based on a concept that was created in the time, who can make decisions. This policy is to treat Black people with dignity and respect and everybody with the same humanity. Then they have the control to do that. If we got to go to governments or other institutions and beg and go through bureaucracies, that would we never get this accomplished. Within 1 year, we'll be able to identify as many Black-friendly, Black-owned businesses globally, so that no matter where our family members may go, they'll be able to find and have choices. And what I tell my employees is that in order to make good decisions, you need good information. And good information has three characteristics. It's got to be relevant, timely, and accurate. So what we're giving people at I Love Black People through our movement is giving people actual resources and a way to properly make decisions to make sure they're safe. And as we build out this movement to create this global network of safe spaces for Black people, we're going to be able to do even more things. Like we'll be able to create, global ways that where we can transact, even creating like school systems. We can actually create a global school system where we have Black people all over the world helping to teach our children through a international network of Black people who are concerned about the well-being of Black people. We'll be able to create even ways to certify entities as being Black friendly. Another thing we saw in our travels, in our recent I Love Black People tour, was that when a lot of Black people are traveling in other countries, there's been issues of Black people getting their organs taken out and being killed and not being respected. We can help make sure that when our people are traveling in other places, even if your embassy is not doing what it should do, we can have an organization and a movement that can make sure while you're away, if something happens, you can reach out and, in like an emergency fashion, where we can help you contact your family or embassy or authorities. So creating a global network of Black people who are concerned about the racism and xenophobia. Just imagine we had 1 million Black folks connected through this network. If someone does something to somebody in the network, we could use that power of that 1 million people to hold people accountable. We don't have to be victims. We can take control of our lives and work with other people who have a common interest in what we're about and who we are as a people. And again, it has to be focused. I've been a part of many movements and many organizations, and they get off track because an issue comes up and they think something's wrong with it. And instead of actually focusing on what they need to focus on, they end up trying to do things in ways that don't make sense. So what we got to do is make sure that we keep all our things together so that we don't have these type of problems, and make sure that we can leverage the collective. And in the next coming days, one of our biggest issues that we need to maintain is we're going to make sure that we expand as many members as possible and expand as many ambassadors as possible. We want to make sure that every major, medium-sized city in the world, we at least have we have at least somebody that we can actually help us do what we're trying to do. So it's very important that we focus on identifying as many people as possible to join I Love Black People over the next several weeks. And we'll leverage that in order to make sure that we have the proper coverage in every part of the world that we're in, to make sure that what we're doing is that we're able to achieve and focus on our goals. So I think at this point, we'll open it up. Questions so far?
Yeah, so I see a question from Akamas. So it's with regards to the brother who was attacked in South Africa. So he was basically asking what's the way forward when Africans are attacked in African countries.
What we need is discipline and focus. Our purpose is to create a global network of safe places that where our Black people are, they can go and support and actually use when they need help. So what'll happen is that we're going to keep having issues that happen in different places, and we can't be like, again, in America we don't play a lot of soccer or football, but what we can't be like is children. If anybody's ever watched children play soccer, they just run to where the ball is. There's no setup plan, there's no play. If the ball's kicked over there, the kids run over there. If the ball's kicked, that's not a strategy. That's not a tactic. We know that xenophobia is real. We've been talking about xenophobia before the recent accident, and we're going to be talking about it after, but we're going to be talking about it in context to a solution. What we're saying is, if we're building a network to protect Black people from racism and xenophobia, I want you to see if there are any other organizations or any other movements, any other startups doing this. When you come back and tell me none of them are doing it, this one is the only one doing it. The question is, what have you been doing to help make sure I Love Black People is successful? So it's a bigger, we're already laying the foundations to address these issues. What people unfortunately would rather do is talk about things than do something about it. So we're about action here at I Love Black People. We're watching, and we know that that's not going to be the last person that's attacked in xenophobia. We know that's not the last Black person who's going to go somewhere and work and come back dead and have something happen to them. We know that this is happening to our people. What we as a people have to do is be disciplined enough to actually follow through with a plan. We have the plan, we have the resources. We need everyone on this call to tell as many of their friends about the movement that we have, I Love Black People, and get them involved. Become an ambassador, become somebody who's recommending these safe places. Financially support. We got books that we're selling. We're doing all these things to build out a network to protect Black people. So when, not just about the brother from Uganda, just this past brother, but for the next sister or brother, we need to make sure we're building something. So it's not asking what I Love Black People are going to do for you. What are you going to do to help I Love Black People achieve its goal of protecting Black people from racism and xenophobia? We need discipline, focus to execute what we already have set up. And what we don't need is just a bunch of talking and debates of philosophizing. At the end of the day, it's a lot of work that needs to get done to build out something as fundamental as a network of Black people who are concerned about protecting each other. So if someone asks you, what is I Love Black People doing? You tell them we're identifying Black-friendly spaces. We're identifying ambassadors. We wake up every day trying to figure out how to use technology to protect Black people through a network of Black safe places and ambassadors. So when someone says, what are we doing? Ask that person, are you an ambassador I Love Black People? Well, you're not doing enough. Responsibility starts at home. We got to hold ourselves accountable. And when I hear these things, and it pains me that we're like acting like there's no one trying to do something. I Love Black People. We wake up every day doing something about it. And it's not going to be something we fix in one day. We got to have the commitment to follow through a plan. We can't just say, oh, it's not there yet, so I'm doing something else. No, you have to be a part of the solution. We're not victims anymore. This is about self-determination, what we're going to do for ourselves, not what someone else is going to do for us. So again, when it comes to I Love Black People, we're clear that it's going to take a plan and execution to make sure that this doesn't happen to our people anymore. But we have to get as many people involved with that plan and execution to be successful. And we don't, the gossiping and the conversation, the debates, I think that's fine. We got a chat group for that. But this is not about chatting. This is about working and actually execution and actually achieving a goal. So in a real way, you don't win the what do you call that? The Premier League by conversations. You win the Premier League football by execution. We're not going to stop xenophobia and racism by just talking about it. We're going to stop it with execution. So that's what I Love Black People is committed to do. If you talk to anybody who's upset or concerned about what happened to that brother in South Africa, you tell them to join I Love Black People. You tell them to recommend places that are safe, and you ask them to get as many people to be ambassadors as possible. And we're going to build a nation of Black people who will not tolerate being disrespected or humiliated anymore. Hopefully that answers the question. Any other questions, Alex, that anybody's posed?
Yes, I see Hanson from Liberia was asking if we have if you have an office or a team in Liberia. So I guess maybe he's probably talking about physical location or a team there.
All right, so as far as physical locations, I think that's a good question, and we'll answer. So the answer is yes, we have people in Liberia, not a physical location. What we're trying to do is we're trying to leverage our brains more so than leveraging a bunch of money. We're trying to leverage our willingness to fight and resist racism. I'm not trying to make this philosophical, but having like places and funding, buildings, buildings are great, but what's more powerful is us connecting. It's less costly for us to connect on this phone call than it is having a bunch of buildings that could actually have problems. So what we're trying to do is create a solution through this movement that spends the least amount of money to do the most amount of good. That's why everyone that's on this call, there's no one charged you to be on this call. We're not trying to what we're doing to actually sustain this movement. We have books that we actually have for sale. There are paid memberships where people can be paid. We need those. And we also have t-shirts that we have for sale. So what we're saying is that we want to make sure that this is never a burden. When we're creating this network, it will always be free. We'll never charge Black people to be safe. That's absurd, and it's counter-revolutionary. We're creating something that all our people are going to be using for free to protect themselves. But yes, it does cost money. Recently we had some people asking when we're going to visit this place and that. We want to visit everybody every day, but that costs money. Now, are we going to use that money for travel, or are we going to use that to build out this network so that everybody can use it for free? So our priorities is making sure that we have all these types of 8 businesses in all these countries that people are critical to people's needs, essential to when they travel. We're trying to make sure we get that covered. And in order to do that, that requires us to be focused on actually the solution. So to answer your question, yes, we have ambassadors in Liberia. We definitely want them to continue to be active. If you're not an ambassador, please become one. We need as many folks helping to build this as possible. This has never been done before. So there's no national entity like this using technology to protect Black people from racism and xenophobia. If you go to Silicon Valley, all the solution, all the things they've come up with in Silicon Valley, they never come up with something to solve the issue of racism and xenophobia. We are now trying to do that with this movement. And we need you to help make sure that happens. And we want to do it in a way that has the least amount of cost, but the greatest amount of good. So our focus is not buildings. Our focus is not even paying for airplane tickets to travel. Our focus is identifying amazing people who are concerned about Black people being harmed and humiliated from racism and xenophobia. So it's very important that we focus exactly on that. And everything we spend, everything we do, that's our purpose. All right, any other questions on there, Alex?
So I think I see maybe one final important question. Elizabeth was asking what are the procedures to become members or ambassadors. So I see Sister Shekinah posted a link, but maybe you can just highlight that briefly as well.
Yeah, so there's levels to this. I think that's pretty interesting. There's levels to this. The ambassadors are people who have come on early on and have done so much. And I just got to give a shout out to all the ambassadors. Y'all are amazing. Without you, this would never be possible. have been the ones that have helped us build out this network. Now, there's been people who signed up to become ambassadors, but they never did the things that were required of them. So to be an ambassador, you really have to spend time promoting I Love Black People and helping us build. So some people don't have the time for it. Some people aren't that committed, but are interested. Well, if you're not that committed, you can at least recommend, help us, and sign up to be a member. And the members, may not be as involved and engaged as ambassadors, but they're people who are also helping us increase our network and actually bring people and help us identify safe places. And then the lowest level are the people who just want to participate and use the network. Those people we really just call them users, folks that actually want to use the platform to identify places when they're traveling, and that's great. And then we have people who are paid members. Paid members may not give a lot of their time, but they're committed to actually giving money to help us build out this network. So you don't have to pay money. To be candid with you, your knowledge, your ability is priceless. Our love of Black people has nothing to do with how much money you have in your pocket. It never has, it never will. This is not prostitution, it's not pimping. This is not about your money. This is about your willingness and commitment to protecting Black people from racism and xenophobia. And if you have that willingness and commitment, you can do whatever you need to do and have every right to participate that you're interested in. But you go online and you sign up and do that. A lot of the stuff we do, it starts off on Facebook. But the problem with Facebook is that we don't control Facebook. We're very leery of things like that. So we try to make sure we direct everybody to the website because we do control that. We have our own development team that develop and actually build this. From Kenya, we got folks from Zimbabwe, folks from the States. So we have teams of indigenous African people and African diaspora that are actually building this system. So if you got any skills at graphic design, we always need people to help with graphic design. If you got any coding skills, always can use your help with helping us code. If you're somebody who's good with connecting with people and a lot of folks and you got media access, we need as many media access as possible. We need newspaper articles being written. We need TV articles. We need bloggers. We need to spread the good news about what we're doing. So as many Black people, like including the brother that was from Uganda, what we want to be able to say is if that brother was a member of I Love Black People, he would have been in a better situation than he was with not being a part of us. If he was a part of, there's things that we could do to help him. So in a real way, if you're not a member or not, we want to be helpful, but we want people to realize if you're a part of a group of Black people that transcends borders, that we get 1 million of us together, even 100,000 Black people. Let's think about 100,000 committed Black people to protecting and us from racism and xenophobia. That would be huge. So in a real way, we think that if we get these people engaged in what we're doing, we build out this community, we're not going to have the problems where we feel helpless or defenseless. We'll have 100,000 Black people behind. We got your back. We're behind you. It won't be just folks from your tribe or from your family or from where you're from. This will be Black folks worldwide. It'll be Black folks in the Caribbean, Jamaica, Black folks in Canada, Black folks in Australia, Black folks in the Fiji Island, Black folks in Papua New Guinea, Black folks in Madagascar. We'll have Black folks behind you all over the world. So you don't mess with one of our people. It's unacceptable. So in a real way, it's about encouraging people to focus, execute, and have discipline to carry this out so we can actually achieve our goals. So become a member, become an ambassador, be a paid member if you have that ability, and then help us make sure that we spread the word through social media, through the news media. Help us get the word out about this so that Black folks know finally there's something here to help them, help themselves. We're not waiting for somebody to save us. We're going to save ourselves, and we're actually creating the tools for us to do that self-determination. Okay, we're not waiting on a Messiah. Again, I'm Baptist. You know, I'm not trying to knock anybody's religion. I'm just saying we're not waiting for someone to return. We're here already. We're going to make this happen for ourselves. So that's what our focus is as members, as ambassadors, or paid members. I say two last questions. So we already got people on here for an hour. I don't want to take everyone's day up. Any other questions, Brother Alex?
Uh,
Wakula,
yeah.
Luya.
Yeah. So first, I'd like to acknowledge questions from Isaac Lemoka and Trayson Kelvin, but I think you've already answered those with like what we can do to protect Black people. Then I
Yeah.
see we.
Well, let me drill
Mhm.
down on that. We're using a concept that was used in America during American apartheid. Literally, Black people's lives were saved because there was a guide that directed Black people to places they weren't familiar with, but showed them where they could go and be treated with dignity and respect. That's the foundation of the solution. What we need to achieve that, though, is that it has to be all over the world. If it's only in a few places, it becomes a very dysfunctional tool. That's why we need, if you got family members in England, family members in France, and we've even had problems in Russia where young students will go to learn in Russia, and then they get treated and abused by racists and then have to come back home. We need to know in any place in the world where Black friendly places are as a foundation. So that means if there's ever a problem in the country that's attacking Black folks, the first folks that we'll reach out to are the Black friendly businesses. Hey, what's going on? We heard that this is happening and it was in your community. The more businesses that are Black friendly and Black owned that we have that treat Black folks with respect and dignity, when something happens, we'll be able to reach out, even if it's a crisis. It could be a weather crisis, a storm or something. If we have a Black friendly business there, we can reach out to them and say, look, we got some people that are in that area that had this problem. We'd like to get them some help. And we can leverage the 100,000 people in our network to help those Black people so that they're safe from whatever storm, cyclone, or hurricane they might be involved in. So it's about creating a group of Black people that are working together, not to get rich or to be famous, but to protect Black people from racism and xenophobia. And we use that as a foundation of why we're here. We're not here just because we're Black. That's not enough. On principle, you have to be about protecting Black people from racism and xenophobia. So you being Black and you're just trying to exploit or harm Black or got a scam, we've had people come with scams and things. We don't play that. If you're not committed to, if it's not enough to see a world where Black people are safe from racism and xenophobia, if that's not enough incentive to be involved, this is the wrong group movement. Go find another movement because you're going to distract us. This is only for the people that think that Black people being protected once and for all is important enough to dedicate a life to. If you're not willing to dedicate that to Black folks, find another group. We don't need everybody. We just need the believers. We just need those who really see people being treated with dignity, respect, something worthwhile. So it's that level of intensity that we're looking for. And the folks that you got to convince or beg, we don't want those folks. God bless them, but that's another thing. We need folks who are waiting for something this amazing to happen so they can be a part of it. And that's what we're doing. One last question, you think, Alex?
Yeah, one last question. So we have one from Abdurrahman Ba, and I think I'll also tie Kagalula's question to Abdurrahman's as well. So he's asking how to raise awareness in our region, more specifically with the younger generation, for the next generation not to involve themselves in racism and xenophobia. I mean, using the grassroots level. So he's speaking more of a regional thing and like grassroots support. And Kagalula continues by asking if he has community outreach. Are we able to provide them with the banners or reading materials?
Right. So I think great questions. What we're going to start soon is a book club. What we've noticed with even with the book we have that's on Amazon, A lot of people don't have access to books and reading material that's helpful in protecting Black people from racism. You know, in some places, people don't realize that racism exists. We actually have some people who normalize racism so much they don't even see it. They just think that Europeans are supposed to go to the front of the queue because Europeans are supposed to go to the front of the queue. They don't realize this system. They're naming their kids after Europeans and speaking English and not realizing this is a form of oppression. So, and some of this is about enlightening our people, not just young people, older people. And what I tell people, it's not just putting people back in classrooms, because most of us ain't trying to get into no classroom. What we have to do is make everything we do, you know, interesting as well as insightful. So let me say another way. We need, in addition to giving reading materials, we need to be creating videos, creating messaging that's attractive and interesting, as well as educational. And a lot of people listen to Bob Marley's music because he had a message in it. So it's not, and oftentimes people say we got to change the little kids. The little kids need to be changed, but there's some grown folks that need some help too. And with grown folks, what we got to realize, we've been learning as grown people all our lives. Like when most of us were born, there was no such thing as a smartphone. The smartphone has only been around for 10 years. So we learned about smartphones. So this thing about learning about our liberation, learning about empowering ourselves, we don't have to send people back to a classroom. We just need to be able to create material that we can share with folks that actually inform them. And what we want to do is use our social media, use our groups that we have to empower our members and folks that are a part of our community with information that's uplifting, that's informative, that allows them to make better decisions and actually leverage the knowledge that's already out there. But one of the things that I've noticed is a couple of things. Because of white supremacy ideology and colonialism, they make the cost of data in Africa so expensive, so that so much knowledge is not able to be downloaded or obtained on the continent because they're constricting that. Another thing that's racist is the travel laws. They make it easy for Europeans to go anywhere in Africa, but African people can't go nowhere in Europe or any place else without a bunch of rules and restrictions and humiliations, making you pay fees to go. Because I have an American passport, I can go anywhere I want to. That's because this is a racist system. There's no reason that there's nothing I've done that's amazing. Why is it that I can go anywhere without being questioned, but somebody from Zimbabwe or Uganda or South, they got to get questioned? And you better believe a European from South Africa, when they walk into the United States Embassy, they're getting treated differently from an actual indigenous African calling themselves South African going to a United States Embassy. So that's why I don't even play. That's why we say Black people, because folks are playing games with being called African, when in reality, the Europeans that live in Africa. That's okay. You can be India and live in Africa, but let's be clear, there's a difference in the treatment in this world, and we need to solve that problem. And if you really with us, you'd help us solve it and not be a part of the problem. So in a real way, the education that we're talking about doesn't have to be just for little children. It could be in all the things that we do to inform ourselves. That is like one of the issues with skin bleaching. Black men all over the world have to stop idolizing or elevating European beauty. This is not just an issue with women, it's an issue with Black men not loving the Black woman in her natural beauty. We have to stop that. That education ain't just with little kids. That's with grown Black men with computers and iPhones and fancy cars elevating people that don't look like them. So this thing that we're talking about is really, the accountability starts with us. If you got friends that act like that, you need to check your friends. If you got family members that say these ridiculous self-hating things, you need to check them. So yes, we have materials that we will continue with your help. If you got any material that you think we should use, please send them to us so we can actually get them out to the people, as well as we need everybody to stay and hold themselves accountable. It's very important that we do that. Alex, is that it?
Yeah, that's it for now.
Hey, Shekinah, can you have Shekinah lead us in a Shona prayer as we all leave and go about our wonderful weekend? Shekinah, our ambassador, coordinator extraordinaire, gifted, amazing Black woman. Could you please?
Yes, sir. Ngatinamate. Mwari, ndoda kukutendai nenguva yamatipa, ndoda kukutendai nekutichengetedza, ndoda kukutendai nekutipa mukana wekuti tiungane tese sevanhu veIloveBlackPeople. Ndoda kukutendai neinitiative inoyi Mwari kuti tibatsire hama dzedu dzisapinda matambudziko eracism nexenophobia. Mwari, ndinokutendai Mwari nekutipa pfungwa dzamakatipa idzo. Ndinokutendai nekuti tizive mutsvene Jehovha kuti hamuna kusika mumwe nomumwe Jehovha mutsvene takasiyana asi munhu wese Jehovha makamuita kuti aenzane. Mwari, chiita kuti Mwari mutsvene pandisi zvatinoita Mwari zvive zvinobatsira Jehovha. Nerimwe ramazuva zvinzi nokuda kwevaya Jehovha vakawanda vakakwanisa kuponeswa. Jehovha, ndinokutendai Mwari nokuti muri Mwari munogona, ndinokutendai nokuti Mwari munotungamira mumwe nomumwe wedu. Chiita kuti patiri kuenda kwese kwatiri kuenda mutsvene tiite zvinhu zvinobatsiridza mutsvene rudzi rwekuvatema. Mutsvene ndakutendai Mwari nokuti muri Mwari. Muzita renyu Baba neMwanakomana nemweya anoera. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Have an awesome week. Let's get this done. Our people need us. So please, everything that you've been asked to do, we need everybody to do it. This upcoming week, our focus, each person on this call has to get 10 people to become a member or ambassador. That is your charge. I'm asking everybody on this call to make sure they have at least 10 people sign up. That means you're going to probably have to talk to 30 people to get 10, but 10 people to sign up to be members or ambassadors. And I think lastly, on our social media, my social media Twitter account is Skinner Liberated. That's SKINNER #8 Liberated. So Shekinah, can you write down my Twitter handle on the chat group? Everybody follow me on Twitter. I want to see everybody follow me on Twitter, and I want to make sure everybody gets 10 people to literally sign up to become members or ambassadors. It's very important. And then lastly, if you know of any safe places in South Africa or Europe, or have any friends, let them know that we need their favorite doctor, their favorite lawyer. If somebody Black is in South Africa right now and they get victimized by xenophobia, we need to identify Black lawyers in South Africa that will be supportive and helping protect them. So we need you to give us recommendations about Black-friendly lawyers and doctors, especially. Of course, we need the restaurants and the hotels and the hair salons, but we really need more doctors and lawyers so that no matter where Black folks go, if they slip and fall down, they don't have to worry about somebody doing something bad to them. So thank you all for everything. without you, this would not be possible. I am because we are. All right now.
Oh, come on.